Our next guest is the co-executive producer behind a new original podcast on Apple. It is titled Easy Money, the Charles Ponzi Story, which debuts on Monday. Joining us right now is Will Malnati. He's the founder and CEO of At Will Media. Did I capture your last name properly, or did I just totally butcher it?
No, I was right. You got it.
Okay, I got
a
a little worried there for a second. I want to get into this podcast, and I want to get into the economics of podcasting, because you haven't just produced this, but you produce a lot of podcasts. This is like the OG Ponzi story.
Yep.
You decided to do this because what?
Well, because OG stories are great, first of all. And this guy, I think people know Ponzi scheme, but they don't know that there's a guy behind it. And so whenever you can kind of like unveil that, show it, it's interesting. And for me, just getting to know this guy who is larger than life. I mean, he was just in his prime, and he obviously committed this terrible fraud, but he was an amazing human. And
okay, so you sound like you have some kind of empathy for him.
Yeah, because I think any story. Listen, we see a lot of these schemes, right? If you listen to any,
I said he's the modern Bernie Madoff for those sort of the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of people don't have empathy for Bernie Madoff.
No, of course, I get that. And a lot of people don't have empathy for him, but I think what we try to at least do is humanize him and try to at least say, okay, this is a real guy who came over, to America from Italy with this idea of the American dream, and he chased it. And listen, he did everything, at least what he thought, in the right way. And he got caught up, but he was really a person who was trying to help. Trying to, do good.
Did he have fewer victims than Madoff did, or what? Like, how did that?
Actually, the victim count is interesting. He had a couple thousand investors, maybe 3,000. He stole, today's equivalent of $250 million. Bernie.
That's a stretch. How do you feel bad for him in that scenario?
Yeah, well, listen, I don't think you feel bad for him. He did, of course, a lot of wrong and put a lot of people in a very bad situation. We spoke to someone who, was a relative of someone who had invested with him, and he's still saying that Ponzi screwed up like my life, and this is 100 years ago. Right. I had an inheritance probably, and now I don't because of him, and so it has a trickle down even to today, which is interesting.
Let me ask you a different question about the world of podcasting. I'm going to say something maybe a little too provocative.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
You ready? The business of podcasting is a Ponzi scheme.
Wow.
Okay?
You heard it here.
You heard it here.
On Squawk Box.
I think there's a real question. Actually, the New York Times wrote a piece about it over the weekend. About how many people are actually listening to these podcasts, how advertisers are paying to be on these podcasts, the sort of attention economy, which arguably is being artificially inflated by numbers that are not real, and what you think of that.
Listen, I think that the podcast industry is still very young, and I think there's a lot of catching up that still has to happen, especially related to those types of things and stats and everything. I think it's figuring itself out still. That's the reality. And so with that, any kind of nascent industry is going to have its...
But the reason I ask it is, I think right now, there's a whole world out there that's looking at these numbers on YouTube, that's looking at the numbers that they're getting on their phone, on X, or this or that, for podcasts that are oftentimes an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I don't know anybody who listens to anything for 4 hours. Like, I just I don't know that person at all.
Squawk Box is a 3-hour show.
We're a 3-hour show, and the truth is that the average person who watches the broadcast is watching something like 20 minutes at a time.
Sure.
And by the way, advertisers pay on the basis of 20 minutes at a time, not 3 hours at a time. And that's actually a huge distinction, because it's unclear whether the folks who are paying for the podcasting industry today are actually paying for anything, because it's unclear whether the eyeballs or the ears are actually listening to everything. Different on Spotify. Spotify actually has figured this out a little bit better. Apple less so. But I'm curious, as somebody who's in this business, whether you think that there's going to be a shakeout.
I think, well, there already has been some. But yeah, I think there will continue to be kind of new learnings that come with new technologies that get implemented, and all of a sudden, yeah, you're seeing like maybe what we thought was one thing is not anymore.
So how strong do you think the business ultimately is?
I still think it's strong because I think you're seeing every year, you're seeing it scale, you know, and so with that, and by the way, like I think the listenership and now viewership, which YouTube is like almost taking over in some ways, you know, what Spotify and Apple have, it's beginning to look like, wow, these are like the new, you know, the new late night hosts, you know, these are the new influencers who are like really commanding a ton of audience.
To Andrew's point, how tightly is it measured? Like Nielsen ratings are every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's measured on a...
Yeah, listen, I don't work for Nielsen, so I can't like totally, you know, comment on that, but I can say it's starting to feel like it's becoming more regulated, and with that, right, with any type of like more specifics happening,
more veracity in numbers, or more clearness in what comes through. My guess is that everybody can't be a podcaster, though. There's going to be a shakeout in terms of the best ones rising.
That's already happening.
Yeah,
for sure. There's a huge disparity. Like, I mean, it's a big kind of leap between the person who's, you know, Joe, your friend, who's hosting from his garage, and, you know, Alex Cooper. Right. So these are starting to happen more and more. And yes, of course, with anything, you're going to start seeing stats that are feeling more real. Right. And what will that do? Right. I don't know what it'll do to the industry, but it's interesting to kind of see it play out. Podcasting has only been around for, what, 12 years, like in a real way?